Hi everyone. I wanted to make a video kind of taking torpedo shooting and sort of stripping it down to its kind of bare necessities, the kind of bare essentials. So I know there's some people out there who use the vanilla aiming. There's some people out there who use automatic. This is not really geared toward that. This is geared toward manual targeting. There's some people that use the vanilla aiming, and then there's some people that use the TDC mod. What I'm going to do in this video is do neither one and just show how to set up a basic straight shot, what's known as a zero gyro angle shot, or aiming with the boat by doing vector analysis on the map, which is just simply a fancy way of saying drawing a triangle and figuring out what the lead angle is based on, first of all, figuring out what course and speed of the target are using simple methods. And then drawing a simple triangle on the map, figuring out what the lead angle is, what your attack course needs to be, and what bearing to pull the trigger. Okay, so why am I doing this? Well, it's to hopefully show people kind of the mechanics of torpedo shooting at its most basic level, and because the vanilla aiming is the way it's been implemented, it's very, very non-transparent. You're not able to really see. That's why a lot of people, including myself, prefer the TDC mod, because it gives you transparency and insight into what's actually going on as part of your shot mechanics. And so vanilla, you have no idea, right? You just, a couple boxes pop up at the bottom left. You can use the periscope tools, and it gives you these sort of mystical values that you're not quite sure what to put in, and then ta-da, it gives you a solution, right? So it's not implemented very well, in my opinion. So I don't have the TDC mod enabled right now, just because I'm just going to want to show at the basic vanilla level how something like this can be done. But I'm also not going to use any periscope tools. I'm not going to use the recognition manual, and it's not because I'm trying to show off or anything like that. It's because my particular play style, I like to play historically. I've done a lot of research for other projects, and I know quite a bit about how the approaches that were taken to gather data for shooting data. None of them involved any of the tools you see in game, right? The scope that's in the game did not have a stadimeter, not historical. The rec manuals didn't exist like they exist in the game. They didn't have that level of minutia in there and exact data to give you what you need. Typically, these guys didn't even identify what they were shooting at because they couldn't. They simply estimated the tonnage. They obviously determined the nationality and whether it was a valid target or not. And they estimated the tonnage, and then after they sank the target, they tried to find out what they sank, okay, to verify the sinking. So I kind of like to try to play that type of way, and truth be told, it actually frees you from sort of relying on tools or recognition manual. If you're able to just do these simple methods, you can take these to any sub-sim you play, U-boat sim, or even any World War II sub-sim. You can apply these same techniques and be successful, okay? So what I've done is I haven't set up any crew management or anything like that. I've just simply left port. So if there's anything that's weird that you see what's going on with the crew, it's because I didn't prepare any schedule or anything like that. Just simply left port with the goal of getting a ship on the horizon to demonstrate the method. So enough with that. Let's go ahead and see what we got. So what I've got on the horizon here is I've got a couple ships, and what I've done is in advance of the video here, I've positioned myself right off of about 90 AOB to them. You can see that, right? We're basically right to the side. To those of you who are having trouble eyeballing angle on bow, I don't blame you, because the angle on bow tool, as it currently is implemented in the game, this thing right here is not correct. Does not accept angle on bow as one would understand it, as the TDC understood it as far as input. It's just not right. And so I don't blame people for having confusion. This technique will alleviate that and simply I can show you how to what the accepted value is in there, but you don't need that tool. You don't need any of these tools with this method. Okay, so you really all we care about is a 90 AOB and a 0 AOB. All right, either looking at the target directly from the side or looking directly from the front. Okay, those are probably the two angles on bow that are the easiest to recognize, 90 and 0. We're at 90 right now, okay? How do we know we're at now? Well, we're a little under 90, okay? But to be precise, but you can see that on this ship here, it has these king post masts in the back. They're basically aligned. They're a little misaligned, but not by much, okay? The other big thing to look at with 90 is the superstructure, the bridge. You can see we can hardly see any of the front of the bridge. Once we can see none of the front of the bridge, we're at 90, okay? Same thing with these type of I don't know what you want to call them, not derricks, but anyway, these masts here that go off diagonally. You can see they're also aligned at this point. We are basically at 90. Once they're at 90 like that, so step one, get yourself off the target's beam so where you're seeing 90-degree angle on bow like this, okay? Once you're there, put them on your 270 or your 90, depending on what side of the target you're on. That's the first step. And that's matching course. So I'm going to say their course is probably 025. I am using I don't have the TDC model enabled, but I do have the compass mod. In my opinion, don't leave home without this. It's common sense, maritime, naval 101, whatever the case might be. That's, a seagoing vessel has to have a compass. The fact that we don't have a compass is a huge oversight disadvantage, in my opinion. Okay, so grab this mod. It will serve you very well. And it's really kind of a necessity if you're going to be doing this type of gameplay here. Okay, so the other thing I have enabled is there's a realistic map contacts mod that I can link in the description, because there's a couple of mods floating around that go by the name of realistic map contacts, but I like this one in particular because what it does is it removes the icons from of the target ships. You can see my boat stays, but the icons for the ships, to the extent they're in range, don't appear. They do still have the God's Eye view. There's no way around that, apparently. But I don't use any map. I don't look at the map at all. It's just from years of playing Silent Hunter without map contacts. It's good to get to the point where you don't need to use the map at all. And frankly, for me, it's more fun that way, to be able to figure out more of a puzzle. Okay, so I've got that enabled as well. All right, so we're at the point now where we're right off the target's beam. Okay, and what we want to do at this point is our goal at this point, why we're doing this, is we're steering a parallel course, okay, and we're going to try to match their speed. Well, we obviously can't set an exact speed by way of the telegraph here, which is a little wonky because, of course, in real life they could and did set an exact speed. All this device did was telegraph the required RPM setting or the order that corresponded to an RPM setting to the engine rooms. In the engine room, each engine had a throttle, and the technicians in the engine room would simply see what the pointer pointed to was the ordered speed level, and then they looked up on a chart what the related RPMs were, and they would set those RPMs on the diesels. This setting right here, which it's hard to read, but it says in German, it says beide Maschinen 10 weniger. In German, that means both engines 10 less. The less would be RPMs. Okay, one EOT had 10 less, and the other telegraph for the other engine had 10 more. So they would use those to signal to the technicians in the engine room, give me 10 more RPMs or give me 10 fewer. And in this instance, they would use that is for what they called Ausdampfen, which Ausdampfen is the technique I'm going to show you right now in U-boat. Basically, it's a fancy way of just saying steaming the target's course and speed. Alright, steaming the target's course and speed. Ausdampfen. That was what the main method they used to get the target data. Doesn't involve any rec manuals, doesn't involve any identification. It's simply just steering on a parallel course and basically doing what the target is doing to understand what the target is doing. Right? So I'm going to get back on 025 because we've yawed a little bit here. So the first step we do is, like I said, we get on their beam, which we are now. I simply, I pick a point and I put my optics just anywhere, and I wait until a reference point on the target crosses the crosshair. So in this case, I'm just going to wait till the funnel crosses it, and I'm going to do two things. As soon as that happens, I'm going to switch over to the map, mark my boat, mark on my boat, and note the time. Okay, so here we go. Right about now, we can switch to the map. I'm going to come in here, put a mark on my boat like this, and I'm going to note the time, 9:50. Just before 9:51. So like call it 9:50. 50 or something like that. 9:50, 50, okay? So I'm just going to note that someplace, 9:50, 50. And then what I'm going to do is now I'm going to wait 6 minutes, all the while steering a parallel course, all right? But not moving. Very, very important is not to move don't do A and D, okay? Don't move the optics. Keep them just how they are. And then once the funnel or your reference point moves backwards, bump the speed down. Wait till it comes back forward again, and then bump the speed up again, and go back and forth, just like that, sawing with your speed up and down to keep that funnel right around the crosshair there. So you can see it crossed it again. I've now bumped it up to slow speed ahead. Keep an eye on your course just to make sure that the yawing isn't throwing you off by too much. And we're basically going to do this until so we start at 9:50 and 50 seconds. We're going to do this until we get to 9:56:50, and we're gonna call it good there, okay? And I will explain why we're using 6 minutes later on, okay? So just bear with me here. I'm gonna do this exercise in real time just so you can see what I'm doing. There, now the funnel's coming forward again. We're gonna pop the speed up again. Keep an eye on the course. We're still good there. You want to be as close to parallel as possible. That's why it's very good to use this close to 90, because AOBs close to 90 are pretty easy to recognize. Also, why it's nice to do this close to 90 is because at this angle, the way the trig works out, the any errors in course, meaning any errors, any extent that you're not parallel, by 5 degrees or maybe even 10 degrees, it's actually not going to have that big of an impact on the speed answer doing this exercise, just the way the trig works out. And to those of you who are curious, it's because part of the math behind this takes the sine of the angle on bow, and sines of angles close to 90 are effectively 1. Starting at about let's say 70 to 80 to 90. Those are, with rounding, effectively 1. It doesn't fluctuate much there. That's why it works well at 90. Whereas if you try to do the same exercise and try to match at like 30, okay, you better be pretty spot on your AOB, pretty spot on being parallel, so that, because any small differences in your AOB, meaning any small differences in your course deviating from parallel, are going to throw your speed answer off. Okay, so try to do this either directly to the side, like we're doing right now, or do it from directly ahead, which was also a pretty popular thing to do. Do it from directly ahead. Basically, get in front and put them on your 180, and then simply go up and down with your speed to keep them roughly the same distance away. All right, I show that actually in my day approach video using UBOAT on my channel. So check that out if you're curious you're curious about that. I won't do it just for the sake of time here, but because once we get to the point where we're done with this, we're going to be using a lot of time compression to get in front. Okay, so going back with the speed again. All right, so now it's 9:55. All right. So you can see so far we're, the target's heading up this way. This is our boat here. This is our first point. Once we get to 6 minutes, we're gonna pop back and put another mark on our boat, making sure that this funnel is back. When we stop the time, making sure the funnel is back to our crosshair again, and then mark our boat, measure the distance, and you'll see why we use 6 minutes at that point. So. Alright, so there's 9:56. Okay, we're going to go back. Now that's 9:56:15. You can see the seconds counting. Once it gets to about 50, then we'll stop the time. It's 30. Get on course here. Alright, 45, getting there. Gonna be up. Alright, that's pretty good right there. Let's just wait a little longer. Yeah, we're gonna be a little over 6 minutes, but that's okay. Alright, that's probably good right there. We can put a mark. It's gonna be a little over 6 minutes, but we won't be off by very much, okay? Alright, there's that, so it's close enough to 6 minutes. Call it good. So what do we do now? Okay, we've done this for 6 minutes. Well, the first step is connect the dots. Okay, so this shows the course. I don't know if that's a function of me having this realistic map contacts on. I know the TDC mod gives you this, but maybe the realistic map thing does as well. You can see effectively the course was 27 degrees, so that would basically be their course. We've pretty much matched course there. Okay. If you don't have this course, I think the protractor will also give you the course. So 27 there, okay? So that's the first step. So this says 7 cables. I have my map in nautical miles. I suggest you do have your map in nautical miles for this exercise. So here's why we use 6 minutes. 6 times 10 is 60. 60 minutes is an hour. Knots are measured as nautical miles per hour. We want hours, okay? A cable is a tenth of a nautical mile. So 7 cables is 0.7 nautical miles. Alright, so you can see, using the decimals, we use 6 minutes, you move the decimal over 1, you got 60 minutes, an hour. We've got 7 cables, which is 0.7 nautical miles. We move the decimal plates over, and we've got 7 nautical miles, okay? So the speed is about 7. To get it more exact, what I like to do is do another one here and figure out where 7 actually starts, which is there. You can see it switched to 7. Alright, there, okay, and then from here draw out to where you get to 1, which is, you can hardly see that, which is unfortunate. Geez, you really can hardly see that. Alright, right there. 1. Okay, so there we go. So that in total is 8 cables. So 7. So it's like the speed was like 7.3, okay? 7.3 or so. 7.2, 7.3, okay? So the point of this is, that's our point 2. This was the end of the target speed. exercise, right? This is the point we care about right here. Alright, so we'll delete that. And the first step we're going to do a little vector analysis now, because we're going to try to set up for our shot and prepare for when we get closer. Alright, so we know that if we move the decimal place over 1, we're going to get the speed. So 0.7 cables is 0.7 nautical miles. Move the decimal place over 1 because we use 6 minutes. And that's going to give us 7 knots. Okay, so that's our speed vector, 7 knots. The next step we want to do is we want to figure out what side of the target we're going to shoot. So let's just say we're going to shoot from the port side. When we end up running around them, we're going to go around to the other side and approach from that side, and we're going to shoot their port side. So what I'm going to do is from point 2, from the end of his speed line, I am going to draw a distance that corresponds to my torpedo speed. Let's just call it 30 knots. Alright, you can use 40, 44, whatever you use for torpedo speed, but I'm going to use 30. And to get 30, again, we're moving the decimal place over 1, right? So 3 nautical miles is going to be a proxy for 30 knots, okay? So that's that. Alright, so that's my first step. The next step is for this method, we're going to shoot. We're going to say we're going to shoot at an angle on bow of 90 because it's easy to recognize, okay? We don't want to have to do any estimating of angle on bow. We're going to shoot at 90. So what do? We take the protractor again, and we draw an angle from here to here, and then out at 90 degrees. 190 right there, out to the end of the circle, okay? Which is right, just like this, okay? Actually, what I'm going to do, just to avoid confusion, is to get this. I'm going to get this. I want to make sure I don't lose my point. And I'm going to delete this circle because it's confusing to have. It's confusing to have that line there, so I'm going to go ahead and just do this. Just put the line over here so that it's not getting confused, okay? So we want to do, again, 3.0, which is 30 knots, right? 30 knots, right there. Boom. Alright, so now we go back here and we say, okay, I want to shoot at an angle on bow of 90. So I'm going to draw 90 degrees, and it's going to go to the circle. Just like this. Okay, and then next I'm going to simply just connect, or draw another angle from here. Oops. From here to here to point 2, which is the end of the speed vector. Okay, right there. Alright, so this is all the information we need to know right here. Our lead angle is going to be 14 degrees. Alright, our course, our attack course, is going to be 102. And we are going to shoot the target when it has a bearing of 14. Alright, this is basically setting up doing by vector analysis, figuring out what our lead angle is. That's all we need to do, okay? So assuming the target doesn't change course, and B doesn't change speed, we don't even need to use the TDC or anything else, or the vanilla aiming or anything else. Okay, so that's the advantage. So now the next step is we're going to get ahead. We're going to keep this drawing, and we're going to get in front of them and verify their course. All right, and then we're going to go dive and then approach and shoot. And we're going to do all of this without having to worry about inputting anything. If you did want to input stuff on these targets using vanilla aiming, this is what you would do. Lock it. And I hate doing this because it does... Another reason to use the TDC mod. you don't have to lock and unlock targets, okay? Locking them gives you an alarm, which is incredibly annoying. So simply use the TDC mod and you can set all that up without the goofiness, okay? But if you still wanted to do it this way, we already figured out the course, which is, we thought, was 27 degrees, okay? So you just simply put in 27 degrees, done, and then put the speed in of 7, done. There's nothing else you have to do at this point with these targets, okay? Well, it won't hold, but that's where you would put the course in and the speed. And range doesn't matter. Eyeball it. Just simply ballpark it, because the closer your gyro angle is to the front of your boat, meaning the straighter your torpedo goes, the less it has to turn, the less range matters. Okay, so just remember that. All right, so we're gonna just hightail it and try to get rid of this stupid penalty, and I'm just going to use time compression to get us in front of the target, just working our way around, and our goal now is to get it exactly in front to verify the course. And once we've verified the course, we can move ourselves off the course line a certain distance and then run down and attack him. Okay. Being in front gives you the advantage of, like I said, of knowing the exact course of the target, because you're observing it directly from the front. It also gives you the advantage, not so much in this game, but in other subsims, of being able to react to any maneuvers that the target might make, just like zigs or whatever, maneuvers it makes in the routine course of sailing along. It allows you to do that as well. So, not a huge concern for us, but we're going to just do this because it gives us a safe thing to orient ourselves on. So you can see as the angle on bow shrinks, I am just trying to keep that target out there on the horizon a good distance, and just watching the bearing drift and turning in ever so slightly, by 5-10 degree increments, to not get too far away from him. Alright, so we can see we're doing pretty well. Yeah, so the discipline hit has gone away now, which is good. What we'll do is we'll orient ourselves on this guy right here, just because we're going to try to attack from the other side. It's just going to be easier for us to do it that way because we're going to be crossing the T directly in front of them, and we can just simply dive and run to the other side. As you can see now that this king post in the back is getting wider, our AOB is getting much sharper. Okay, we're getting there. Getting there ever so slightly here. So as soon as we see that 0, we'll verify the course and we'll pull the plug and dive. Alright, so you can see it's getting pretty narrow now, and these guys are getting very close to 0. I need to start being kind of careful here. Bump my speed down a little bit. Alright. Okay, and then, so what we're looking at here is is really the alignment of the funnel and the masts. So you can see this guy. We can use this guy to verify. We're not gonna dive until we're on this guy's course line because we want to run to the side, to this side of them. But we can use this guy as to orient ourselves on the course. So you can use the compass mod for this because the compass mod shows relative and true bearing. Relative bearing is at the top, true bearing is at the bottom. So I can see that if I put it at a bearing of 240, which is 239 or so, that's our relative bearing. Now the yawing makes this a little more difficult. But what we can do is at a snapshot moment here, we can say, boom, that's 0, and we can verify the course. So we say, okay, that's about 0 right there. That's at about 240. So right about there is 205. That was the true bearing. So 205. In our head, we subtract 180. 205 minus 200 is 5. Plus 20 is 25. Again, get the true bearing, 205. Subtract 200, which is 5. Add back 20, which is 25. I think when we did this originally, we said the course was 27. That's pretty close. So 27, 20, 27, 25. Okay, so pretty close. I think that's going to be certainly close enough. Okay, so to reiterate what I did there, I simply once the target showed exactly 0, I went and I watched the bearing up here, and I put my that bearing on the compass mod, so 236, all right, 238, 239 or so, 205 at the bottom. Here you can see 205. That's the true. And since he's facing directly at us, we need to subtract 180. So we said 205 minus 200 is 5, plus 20 is 25, because 200 minus 200 plus 20 is basically minus 180. That's how you do the mental math, okay? Just do it that way. It's much easier. Alright, so you can see now for this ship, we are at a 0. At this point, we'll go ahead and dive. I'm going to turn 90 degrees to his course line, which 25, 360 plus 25 is 385 minus 90 is 295. 295 right there. Okay, and then I'm going to pull the plug.
Auf Seerohrtiefe gehen.
Alright, you are going to go to the depth steers. You are going to manage the engines. Right. You just get on the navigator station. Keep him off the scopes.
Wechseln auf E-Motor.
Auf Seerohrtiefe.
Alright. I want my skipper on the attack scope. I want you on the listening station.
Bestätigt.
Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to run off the course line a little bit. Let's say we've dived now, so I'm just going to say we're going to run a distance of about let's say like 8 cables. All right, so 8 cables, it's just under a nautical mile. 8 cables is going to be about like 1,500 meters or so. All right, so we're going to run off the course line about that distance.
Schiffsschrauben, Herr Kaloi. Schiffsschrauben, Herr Kaloi.
And then I'm going to turn 90 degrees to the left to go on a parallel but opposite course. All right, so right around now I'm going to start turning because right now we're traveling roughly 90 degrees to their course. So I want to travel, I want to go to course 205 now, which is the opposite, which is the parallel but opposite course. Why? How do we figure that out? Well, we knew the course is 025. Again, add 200, 225 minus 20, 205. All right. All right, we're turning down now, so we know we're going to be about, 1,500 or so meters off the track, which is good knowledge to have. All right, so let's go ahead and get the scope on the target. It's going to be just off of our port bow. Where are they at now? Oh, there they are. Okay, yep. Alright, so they're coming on nicely here. We're going to approach, so we're on a parallel but opposite course. Alright, so right about now, probably a good time to start turning in. So we're going to go back to our sketch. And we're going to say, what's our attack course? Alright, we're not going to use any tools or anything like that. What's our attack course? So in our sketch here, this is the target going 7 knots. This is the bearing right here, and it's when his angle on bow is going to be 90, which is what we want. We're going to shoot. Okay, that means our course we needed was 102, 101.8. And so we are going to steer 102. So we'll go ahead and turn to 102.
Jawohl.
And that's going to get us set up for the shot. And then once we're there, I'll go ahead and reduce my speed down. Okay, so that's what we want to do, is we want to figure out our attack course. This is just basic stuff here, okay? Alright, so there are the targets right there. We are approaching, you can see we're kind of on a collision course, so we want to maybe slow down a little bit. Well, we can't really slow down by much, so we'll go ahead and stop. But what we want to do now is say, okay, at what bearing do we want to shoot? And the answer to that is we want to shoot at a bearing of 14. All right, so that means, because if we look here at our sketch, that was our lead angle that we computed, 14 degrees. So what we're going to do is we're just going to wait and put our scope on 14 degrees right here and wait till the target crosses the wire. And then what you have to do when you're doing manual aiming is once they cross the wire, just put your scope on 0 and shoot, and then you'll hit the target. Okay, so we will go ahead and we'll shoot this guy here. Oh, let's scope up that far. Oops. Alright. Go ahead, just close them a little bit. Let's just confirm we're on a course of 102. Okay, that's perfect. I'll go ahead flood.
Rohr 1, bewässern.
Remember, we computed for 30 knots back when we did the sketch. When we drew the circle, we drew it of a distance of 3 nautical miles, which is basically was just 30, right? So we're good there. Okay. What's this guy doing here? Okay. Yeah, and what I could even do actually is shoot him using this method of point and shoot, and then I can shoot him using the course tools. Okay, so maybe we'll do it that way. We know the course is 25 degrees. We know the speed is 7. So we can probably just do it that way. Keep it simple. So this way I'll show you just using the simple vector analysis method, and then the other one will show you doing using the tools, since we have 2 targets. Might as well do it that way. Alright, so okay, so far so good here. So once he gets to a bearing of 14, we're going to pull the trigger. Now we're going to make sure that the first of all, let's make sure his data is clear. Okay, that's good. Okay, we need to make sure that our course stays on 102.
Jawohl.
Okay. Alright, here he comes. Let's make sure we're on 14 degrees, which is right there. Okay. And we should see an angle on bow of 90 when we get to this point. That's what we wanted, because that's what we did here. Right here. This is the angle on bow with the shot was 90. Okay, so that's what we want to see. Shooting at 90 AOB, not a perpendicular attack, not a perfectly perpendicular attack, right? Because the angle on bow would be a little less than 90 if that were the case. This allows us to verify the course right at the shot, because 90 is so easy to recognize. Okay, so we are going to all right, we're almost there. Now what we need to do, because doing this without any aiming tools or whatever, it's point and shoot. So what we need to do is we need to, as soon as the target crosses 14 degrees, we are going to quickly put our scope on 0 and shoot. All right, so we're getting it set 14. It's right about there. Let's go ahead and go to 0 and fire. Okay, and we should hit the target there. All right, let's go ahead and quickly shift to the other one. Let's input the data. We know we have 25 degrees is the course, 7 knots is the speed. The range, let's just call it like 400. It's really not going to matter much. Or let's say like 2 cables. All right, so that should be good there. And then we can go ahead and shoot him as well. Alright, so that's how you just simply enter that information in there.
Los!
40 Sekunden bis Torpedo-Einschlag.
Okay, so then let's go ahead and
30 Sekunden.
watch the map on these guys. Watch the torpedoes.
20 Sekunden.
Can't really see him that well.
Zehn Sekunden bis Einschlag.
Where's that one?
Torpedo Versager.
Oh, well, we had a dud. Okay. But anyway, that's that. But our point and shoot guy,
Feindliches Schiff
there.
wurde getroffen.
Point and shoot was a center, basically a center
Schwere
mass hit.
Schäden am Rumpf.
Again, that was without using this. That was just simply using the vector analysis. Okay, so you can see, what did I not do on this target? I did not range him. I didn't range, just doesn't make a difference. Okay, the first target we shot at, I didn't range, wasn't even a function. I didn't even measure it. This guy, I measured it roughly just to be able to get, because the gyro angle wasn't going to be exactly 0. So I just put 2 cables in just as an eyeball estimate. Okay, but that's the key takeaway, is from that point and shoot exercise that we did for the first target, is that range doesn't make a difference. You're shooting, as long as you're shooting a torpedo that's going straight, which is what we did, range doesn't make a difference. To reiterate what we did here, all we did is we matched the course and speed over 6 minutes, okay, and then we said, okay, from this point, which will be, think of it as the point of impact, okay, the impact point, we drew a 30 knot circle. 3 nautical miles corresponds to 30 knots, okay, that's just using the 30, okay. We drew that out there, and then we said, okay, what angle on bow do we want to shoot at? We want to shoot at 90, all right? So we shoot at 90, so we draw an angle from 90 out to that circle, and then we draw, the angle from here to here, all right, which gives us then the lead angle. That lead angle is the bearing that we shot at. So then all we did was we said, okay. We said, put ourselves on the attack course, which was this 102. So we put ourselves on that course, and then we waited until that target got to the lead angle of 14 degrees. And since the way the vanilla works is it's point and shoot if you don't put any data in here, so we didn't put any data in there. We just simply went to 0 and fired. So that sent our torpedo straight down 0, and it impacted the target perfectly. Okay, so that's the biggest takeaway. Is a couple takeaways here. That's basic torpedo shooting. This right here is basic torpedo fire. You can even call it World War I shooting. It's literally aiming with your boat, figuring out course and speed using simple matching method, and then simply drawing a triangle and saying, you know, this is what I want. This is the angle on bow I want to shoot at. All right, this is the torpedo speed here is 30 knots. Okay, that angle, 7 knots, 30 knots, and then this angle here gives me my lead angle of 14, and that's what I need to use to lead the target with. Range doesn't matter. It could be, you know, if the speed were larger than that, the angles would just, or I should say, if the range were larger, the sides, the triangle would grow, the angles would stay the same, the triangle would grow, and all of these sides would be relative to each other, would be the same. Okay, the angles would all be the same. The length of the legs of the triangle would all be relatively the same to each other. Range doesn't make any difference. Okay, so that's a huge takeaway. Try to minimize your gyro angle. If you're using vanilla aiming, that means try to shoot when the target is roughly near the front of your boat. Okay, hopefully this is helpful to see kind of what the why as far as what's going on when you're shooting, and then also give people some pointers as far as simple methods to use to get course and speed without having to worry about kind of some goofy tools in the periscope. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. please ask any comments or make any comments or ask any questions you have in the comments. I'm happy to help. Also ask me on Discord. On Discord I'm Stostrup. You'll see me pop up from time to time in the U-Boat Discord. Okay, so thanks and take care.